FRISCO. The Dallas Cowboys on Friday agreed to a long-term contract extension with DeMarcus Lawrence, worth, as detailed at Cowboys247.com, $105 million over 5 years, with $65 million guaranteed. That's a big gulp, but it's only the beginning of the salary cap chugging Dallas plans to do with a host of other stars. So, who's got next? Start with the knowledge that Lawrence's deal, even though it averages $21 million annually, actually saves the Cowboys money under this year's cap. His tag was to eat up $21.50 mil of room, but that's been sliced to $11 million committed for 2019. The beauty of that is obvious, as it moves Dallas' available dollars now to about $18 million. Is that enough to get to Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper and Byron Jones, all of whom the Cowboys have openly discussed wishing to extend? Well, it depends. While the tank deal demonstrates yet again that cap hell is a myth, I really ought to be selling t-shirts with that slogan. There are still limitations, budgets and priorities. I am standing by my recent story that asserts that here inside the star, Byron Jones isn't the super priority that outsiders think he is. It'd be great if that somehow changes, as he's a fine player. But he can make, maybe, $14 mil a year on the open market. Why should he settle for less now? Maybe he shouldn't. Should Dallas pay him that now? Maybe they shouldn't, as Ezekiel Elliott might be the best player on the team, and as surely the club's incumbent MVP, should he be prioritized. This is trickier than best and MVP. The Cowboys have their DeMarcus Murray-driven philosophy on second contracts for heavy lifter runners. As I wrote late last week, the 30 visits presence of second-round caliber draft prospect Damian Harris of Alabama is an eyebrow-raiser, as it suggests the Cowboys are considering drafting Zeke's heir, which would go hand-in-hand with considering not giving Zeke a monster contract. Dallas has contractual control over Elliott for 2 more seasons. A holdout could muddy things. But owner Jerry Jones told us specifically that worrying about that is akin to worrying about an earthquake hitting it. I translate that as meaning that Zeke's contract isn't first on the burner, either. That leaves receiver Amari Cooper and quarterback Dak Prescott. Both are more important than Jones, and more urgent than Zeke. Remember, we're not talking about whether Amari is more important than Dak, though he isn't. We're talking about the pecking order of negotiations. Prescott is the franchise QB, Jerry's words, and this is a QB league, so there is some optics-related sense to getting him done first. Using that same logic, Tank needed to come before them all, of course. But should optics drive the efforts in negotiations with Prescott and Cooper? Or should finances? One bit of urgency, if you will, with Prescott is that it seems the cost of doing business with QBs is skyrocketing, and the Seattle Seahawks' Russell Wilson is demanding a gigantic deal. So maybe the Cowboys want to save a few bucks by doing Dak at $28 mil or $30 mil APY or whatever, before Wilson's deal creates a new high bar to vault over. In a vacuum, by the way, there might be some logic to waiting on Prescott until the organization is sure what he is. But in this particular case, my argument in favor of Dak is that he's proven he's great as the Cowboys QB. That's wins, leadership, class, all of it. Besides, it's a moot point, as the Joneses' decision on Dak is etched in stone. Not the dollars, yet, but the decision in general. And what of Cooper? Isn't his price going up, too? His present deal calls for him to count $13.90 mil against the 2019 cap. Logic in an extension there is that, as with Lawrence's deal, the team will actually create room with the properly crafted deal. Yeah, Dak might be in a race with Wilson. But isn't Cooper in a race with Atlanta's Julio Jones? Aren't all the contracts going up all the time, meaning that teams should consider more than that when creating their pecking order? I've been told by people inside the organization that the Tank Lawrence deal breaks up the logjam, and that now new extensions are about to flow. So maybe a Cooper deal comes quickly, freeing up money for a Doc deal, which comes right on its heels. And suddenly, the roster is fortified long-term and the cap remains a non-issue. But here's the bottom line: as much as we'd like to debate it, from a Cowboys source, as it relates to Amari versus Doc, the order in which we try to do each guy, he tells me, does not make a difference one way or the other. That's good news, and confidence-instilling news, too. But then the Cowboys will need to play the same almost never-ending "who's got next" game with Zeke, Byron, Jalen Smith and more, raising more questions and fueling more debate.